Everybody, I'd like to call this meeting of Tampa City Council to order. Can we get a roll call, please?
Miranda?
Here.
Maniscalco? Hurtak? Here. Young? Vieira? Carlson? Clendenin?
Here.
We have physical quorum.
Good morning. Welcome to a beautiful morning as we replenish the water supply in our community. I see the water people cheering and fist bumping into the air. It's good to be back. I was in Barranquilla with a LEED conference last week, a Bogota LEED conference, and in Barranquilla awarding them for their achievement in gold status for LEED, and doing some site visits to learn about what they're doing for environmental and kind of the quality of life for the people that live there. It was quite fascinating. I learned that we need to start planting the damn trees. We need to get out of our own way and plant the trees. Let's get out of our own way. Because if they can do it in Barranquilla and they can do it in Bogota, we should be able to do that in Tampa. Okay, so that being said, Naya is going to be a little bit, Councilwoman Young is going to be a little bit late. Councilman Vera is going to be a little bit late, so they should be coming here shortly, but they are on their way with the weather. This is a budget workshop, So we're going to do the presentations, and then we will have public comment after the presentations. It is only on enterprise funds today. For those of you that have been here before, we've divided our workshops into three categories. Well, not just enterprise funds, right? So, we've divided our workshops into three different categories, and each workshop will take their little piece of the pie until we culminate to the end where we have the big general fund budget workshop. So, we are here to discuss the recommendations FY27 budget for the City of Tampa related to enterprise funds, solid waste, wastewater, and parking. Staff, who wants to start?
Good morning.
Morning.
Hager Kopesky, City Council Budget Analyst. So I did provide a note to most of the people here that were on deck to present. So I know in the past we've done a format which is very open, and at times you would just kind of have had the books or look through the material and then had a verbal dialogue with the staff. Because the presentation was made on Thursday and I don't know how much everyone has used the digital version of the material to actually go through, I wanted to allow everyone just the option that for the two areas of parking and for solid waste, there had been some work in the background with those two departments and kind of prepping what we thought might be some of the questions that were coming. So I'm going to leave it to you and simply say, although you have those two areas, if you would prefer to just shoot from the hip and have just questions related to, I was going to basically take parking first, solid waste, and then we would move into the water and wastewater areas. So I just don't want to force the format if there isn't a desire to.
You know, I've been disconnected for a week. I think we have to have at least some semblance of structure. And since the departments are coming to council for a budget request for FY, I think it would be prudent and probably wise for them to come and present their case for the budget for FY27 and what their wants, needs, desires, where the struggles are, where the challenges are, and what they're looking for. So I think that my expectation from staff, and this is we go in for all the workshops forward, that this is your opportunity to come to the legislative body that is going to give you the money to run your departments for FY27. Give us your best pitch.
Okay, so with that said, thinking of the order we talked about, so do you want to go through in that same structure of parking, then stormwater, then water and wastewater, or do you want to kind of tackle it in the order that you feel most comfortable? It's up to you.
Okay. Good morning, City Council. Brad Baird, Infrastructure and Mobility Administrator. We have prepared a presentation in the 4 areas of accomplishments over the last 7 years in water, wastewater, solid waste, and parking. And it's about a 20-minute presentation, 24 slides, and I'm happy to do that. It's your pleasure.
I think
Councilman Carlson.
I think it's better if we just focus on the budget. Yeah. I mean, the accomplishments are all over their press releases several times a day.
Well, I think that having a somewhat of a baseline is fine, but again, I think as we're looking at this as a true working workshop to come up with a fiscal 27 with all the challenges we have, I think I think it would be incumbent for you guys to come to us and give us the information that we need to be able to understand. And so it's my understanding we don't have a printed copy of the budget yet? Or
It's going to be available digitally, and if we need something, we can certainly work through it.
I want to say, I think I've been very clear in the past for myself, I want a printed budget, period.
Right, okay.
I've said that time and time again, so for anybody in the staff, in the division that is looking at this, every freaking year we've gone through this now. And I've said I've wanted a budget. I want a printed budget.
So,
Okay, well,
yeah, no,
that's,
I do agree that it would be good, though, for them to talk about some of the work they've done, because I think it will parlay in, that's my opinion.
Thank you.
Yes, good morning, sir.
$2
Good
billion,
morning,
I
council.
think we can afford a printed budget.
Yes, sir, you're absolutely correct. Dennis Rahara, Chief Financial Officer. We're working on it now. Yes, every year you've been very clear, and every year we provide it, and we'll provide it this year, too. We're working on it now.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I just finish one?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I think the public is tired of propaganda. They're ready for substance, and I think it's better that we spend our time on substance this morning.
Councilwoman Hurtak.
Ms. Kopesky, you've created like some outlines. I think that would be a great place to start with parking. If nobody else wants to make a decision, I would love that.
Thank you. Okay.
And is this, I guess some of this is past.
Some of this is past.
Well, it's a baseline.
Yeah.
So you've got a
is
you've got a
this the same
baseline.
thing as what they're about to present?
Well, okay, this is where I'm glad we're getting kind of some of the kinks worked out here, because we've got 2 more to go. So the data that's in here for fiscal 27, as well as the projections or anything to do with 26 budget, is directly out of the data that is uploaded in OpenGov. So anything that you guys are looking at potentially online, anything that's been presented to the mayor, it's all the same data set.
Okay.
So my one comment would be, if we, go through this structure, at times, I know Fed, I believe, is on the line, and so there will be times, obviously, where it will be up to the business to kind of chime in on some of those things, but I can certainly walk us through the structure.
Yes, I think that would be great.
Okay. Let's go.
Okay, so CCTV, we're gonna go with the parking deck first, please.
And Councilman Vieira, good morning. That's all right. It's a good reason. Rain, let it rain.
So I just want to pause for a minute and see if Fed is actually on the line. You can? Okay, great. Okay, good. Okay, so the intention here was, again, first time out of the gate, what does this budget actually look like? This format is a format you traditionally have seen in the past that goes through the expense majors. So the intent here was to give you a global shot of the same timeframes that you typically see on an annual basis. So I'm not going to spend necessarily a lot of time, but I wanted you to have it as a takeaway, because it potentially will help you if you have questions down the road. So what I've circled here is simply the larger items that are embedded within this particular area. So I'm going to click. So charges for services. Oh, actually, can you guys read that okay? Yeah. All right.
Yep. Looks good.
So this was simply to call out where are the contributions coming from. So really at this slide, you can get a sense of where we are with trend. It's obviously ticked up. You will remember that we did put in play new rates on October 1st. So we would have expected 26 to certainly exceed 25. It did, and it's actually coming in better than planned. So in this particular case, just giving you the mix, so to speak, with the largest contributor coming from daily, second with the on-street, and then monthly parking providing the third. Excuse me. All right, so then what I wanted to do is just this is essentially a walk, right? So we're talking about, we started this year at 43 million for the biggest revenue account they have, and it's showing the contributors that drove the increase to the projection. And in this case, the daily has exceeded. So I don't want to speak for anyone, I think that trying to apply in the '26 budget what new rates, how they were gonna exactly materialize is not a perfect science. The good news is, we have actually exceeded the '26 plan. Again, giving you some basis for where we started, and now walking forward, one of the things I wanted to just discuss while we had Fed was to tie to the actual 27 recommended. It does reflect that the revenues actually stepped down slightly. And I think that may be because we have a couple situations where projects will be occurring, for example, the Royal Regional lot or some of the Selman crosstown lots or something. So I'm gonna pause the fact, because I don't wanna put words in your mouth, but it was not a natural direction that you would expect the revenue to go, so I did just want you to verify that.
Fed, are you there?
Good morning, Council. Fed, Revolt Mobility. Can you guys see me? I can see the camera on, but I can't see myself yet.
We don't have to see you, we can hear you.
Perfect. Yes, Hager, you are correct. So for the reason for the monthly parking decrease in the daily parking is the anticipation of the Selman lots, Lot 2, the west lot, also the Camel's lot. They basically will be offline for right now, the next 18 months. And also the rural regional lot will be losing that for the affordable housing project. So that will be taken offline for the parking revenue as well. So you are correct.
Councilwoman Hurtak.
But I just want to set everyone's expectation that that Royal lot, they will be replacing those spots once that affordable housing is purchased. I want to make sure that folks knew that. But from my understanding, the Selman lots will not be coming back because they will be, Thea is going to go in a different route and no longer park under the Selman. Isn't that correct?
They have not made it clear what their full intentions are, but their master plan do call for all of the surface lots to go away. Some of them will be just like public use spaces, dog park, pickleball. So that's what's on their master plan, but they have not confirmed yet if we'll get any of the spaces back.
Okay, and what I'm also curious about, and this might be too early, so if it is, just tell me it's too early to talk about it, but we're right now in the middle of renegotiating the Pam Iorio garage, as well as all the surface parking surrounding the arena. So it shocks me that the projection is lower when ideally we'll be getting a lot more money if we can negotiate that correctly, because it was negotiated very poorly 30 years ago.
I'm not sure if Dennis or Mike Perry able to chime in on that. That is correct. The administration is currently in negotiation with the Lightning.
Councilman Carlson.
Yeah, Fed, two things. One is, I think we've all gotten, at least I've gotten a fair number of complaints about people parking downtown, especially for the first hour, and the second area is Ybor City, parking for the first hour. And thank you for your help on a day-to-day basis with constituent issues, by the way. So one, I wanted to get your feedback on that and see overall what you think the flow of that is and how it compares to your experience and what you would do. And then secondly, last year when we were talking, we talked about maybe buying out Hillsborough College for the remainder of the Noriega garage, or building new garages in Ybor. Could you just tell us, the second question, could you tell us what your vision is then? One of the reasons to increase rates was so that we could maybe distribute, well, first of all, break even, and because we were losing money before, and then second, to try to solve some parking issues other places, especially in the historic district in Ybor. It's hard for property owners because there's no built-in parking that they can use, and there are certain peak times when there's a shortage. So could you tell us what kind of complaints have you gotten, how we respond to those, and two, what's your vision?
Yes, so really majority of the complaints is typically either there's not enough parking, especially in Ybor. And then for downtown, it's more so if somebody's parking in a 717 or private lot, there's nothing that the city can do. So most of the complaints tend to come from, for example, last week we have one where somebody came to downtown for basically an hour, and they park in a private lot, and it charged them a flat rate of $15 for just the 1 hour. We received that complaint, but unfortunately, there's not much that the city can do on those private operation. But our plan is to start looking into replenishing some of those assets that will be losing, like the surface lots, the rural regional lot, and then also one big one is the Twiggs garage. So as it stands right now, the city and the county have an agreement. Comes 2030, the Twiggs garage will actually be converted back to the county. So the city will lose all of the parking there by the courthouse. In this year's budget, I had requested $1 million for a full master plan as far as looking into all of our assets. One, making sure the current existing assets are in a position to be sustainable long-term, and then also looking at ways to replenish those assets. The Whiting Street garage, it takes 2 square blocks, but it's only 400 spaces. So that can be redeveloped. There's private, I would say, redevelopment in the East Ybor that would like to go up, but there's not enough parking in Ybor. So right now we have 2 garages in Ybor. Both of those garages are basically on the west side of 16th Street. So if you're on the east side of 16th Street of Ybor, there's not any really public parking. We have a couple surface lots there, but they don't have a whole lot of parking spaces. So my goal, hopefully, and I have not seen if it was approved yet, but that $1 million will basically kick off a long-term 5-year plan to look into how we can be sustainable moving forward.
Can I ask a follow-up?
Yeah, go ahead.
Fed, one other thing, in terms of capacity, we were told 10 years ago that by now everybody would have some kind of Uber-style service. Nobody would own cars, and we would be in some kind of robo-taxi and just pay a subscription per month. So we're at least 5 or 10 years behind on that. But Tesla just launched robo-taxis. Waymo's launching here. From your analysis and looking at other cities, what are you planning to do to prepare for the day when there are thousands of these and many people have given up their cars and they're using those instead? How will that affect your plan?
So and that's what some of those cities that are preparing for. When you're building any new structure, you build them to where they can be converted into like affordable housing or office spaces, essentially. So I would not say we stop building entirely. You just build in a way where if the use of that space has changed, then you can change with it, essentially.
Yeah, okay. You done? Councilwoman Hurtak.
I think that, I think Waymos and Teslas and all that may happen, but they're really, quite frankly, not going to work for poor people. I mean, let's just be honest. Those folks are still going to own a car because they can't afford a service. So cars are still going to be important for quite some time. I would say the rest of our lifetime, because we just can't move that fast unless we can get transit. That's something that people who can't afford things can afford. But certainly it's not a Uber or Waymo subscription or all of that. That's just not economically feasible for the majority of Tampeños. So my question wouldn't be that. It would simply be that when you are doing this parking evaluation, that you talk to council members too, and hopefully members of the public on what really is needed. And so I know you talked about a garage where the Whiting Street is, but I'm hoping that it wouldn't just be a 7-story garage, but that would also be a public-private partnership with either an office tower or residential above it, very similar to what we're doing with the Army-Navy in the Royal Lot, I suppose you call it. But something like that where we would have 7 stories of parking or however much parking you're anticipating, that would be for public, but also in addition something that could make us money on top of parking for public-private partnership. So basically what you're saying is that in this budget, there's a lot of stuff we don't know because we don't know the revenue that we're going to achieve with the reorganization of the Pan Maiorio garage and the surface parking around the arena. That's a really giant question mark, correct?
That's correct, yes.
Okay. And so what would you say is the revenue currently from those spaces and those garages that we are going to be renegotiating?
For the Pemayorio garage with the parking agreement, there's a line item under operating expenses, it's the 1.5 million. So that's what the contract calls for. They get up to the 1.5 if they don't
Page 5.
get
He's
to
referencing
like the
something on
ticket
page
surcharge. In years past, it's been close to like 1.3, 1.4 million.
Okay.
So that's what we, like the parking, basically cut them a check for to reimburse them for the ticket surcharge. Also, as part of that agreement, they get the 900 spaces in the Pemayorio garage for every event. So I'm not able to basically sell those spaces to the public. They keep that revenue. So we can't account for that until we actually get those spaces back, if we do.
Okay, so how many spaces approximately are in play with this renegotiation?
I'm not aware of where we are in the negotiation process yet.
No, but I'm
the-
saying, how many parking spaces are, other than the 900, because again, we have the surface parking around the whiting and the white, like, so how many spaces in total are we
You mean,
renegotiating?
oh, I believe it's just around the 900 spaces that's in the Pemayorio. The 1.5 come from all the parking that's south of the Whiting Street, essentially. So that's where they get the 1.5 million from. But the actual spaces that they get as part of the agreement is the 900 spaces in Pemayorio.
Okay, so we're not renegotiating anything south of Whiting?
Again, I can't speak on the negotiation right now. I'm not sure where we at.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, the problem with that is, we're looking at the budgeting, is that this is also subject to them negotiating, so until that's done, it's like, yeah.
That's kind of my point. So I mean, it's interesting to look at this, but I mean, we're not going to have real numbers until the negotiation. And if I'm correct, the negotiation the idea for an agreement is early spring.
Well, the current agreement actually expires September 30th of
Oh,
this
I'm
year.
sorry. So it's soon. Wow, September 30th. So we should really have an agreement.
That's just for the south of Whiting component, I believe, right?
Okay.
And the 900 spaces, so the parking agreement essentially.
Yeah, the whole
Okay.
parking agreement.
So I know that I have already asked for a briefing with Chief of Staff, because apparently, Mr. Revolt, you are not negotiating. That is Chief of Staff, correct?
I believe Chief of Staff and Abby Philly has
Okay.
been
Yeah, so,
in contact.
so I've already asked for a briefing. Y'all should hop on that as well, because I think that that's really important. And I'm also a little surprised that our Director of Parking isn't included in that, but that's just a personal aside.
Yeah, I'm fully engaged in that.
Well, you may be fully engaged, but it's all of us that
Right.
need to be engaged.
I understand.
So
Well, you just
to
said-
find out
I
now.
was just responding because you asked that we should do that. I said if I have that.
Well,
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
Fed should be, but but all of us should be
No, not-
aware of it.
yeah.
Like, the fact that we weren't aware that this is coming up on September 30th is kind of a big deal.
Yeah.
I mean, Councilman Miranda's been talking about this since long before I've been on council, so he's been waiting for this. Like, you had it like circled on your calendar, right?
Councilman Miranda.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Along those lines, does that include the parking garage at the convention center or not?
They get basically, the 1.5 million comes from all parking spaces south of Whiting Street. So that's where we get the 1.5. So the parking agreement consists of two components, the 1.5 guaranteed and then the 900 spaces that they get in the Pemayorio garage during events.
And I'm not here to criticize or praise the ones that did the negotiation then. I wasn't privy to that, but it's, I just wondered what loss of revenue, and all of it's loss of revenue because I don't think we got a penny out of it, but that was done way back from Kennedy South all the way, and I don't know if it included that parking garage at the convention center. Now you said yes, so it's concreted that it is. And, the problem is that There's other businesses that do this, and we don't do it for any other business. We don't do it for the hotels, we don't do it for anybody else. And I hope whoever doing the negotiating understands that there's gotta be some type of responsibility on those that want to take advantage of what we have there that belongs to not only us, but the others that came around. When there was no hotel, there was a convention center that was really suffering. And when one hotel came in, and that was hard to do under the Greco administration, I remember that, to get that hotel to start. They're the ones that really, by them being here and being successful, they brought in other hotels without asking them to come because for competition. However, they knew that Tampa was a spot that was really moving at that time, and other hotels sprung up, maybe 4 or 5 or 6 others came up. So these are the things that you have to look at, and they're not getting any piece of the pie that I know of. So they're the ones that are bringing a lot of people in.
Maybe, how about, if council's okay with this, because now there seems to be a lot of questions about what the status is of the parking spot south of Whiting. Mr. O'Hara or Mr. Perry, anybody here versed on the agreement, and maybe you could give us a little bit of an education on what the current agreement is, and so we all have the exact
Yeah,
same
for the
information.
funding mechanism.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. I just want to add one thing. The administration always says, we're always available for briefings, but then there's information that's not consistently applied, and frankly, I use other sources and I find out the information I'm given is not true. And if we want the chief of staff to brief us on something, I think we should put him on the podium and have him come face the public and answer our questions publicly. Thank you.
Mr. Perry?
Good morning, Council. Michael Perry, Deputy Chief Financial Officer. The parking revenue sharing agreement was put in place primarily to support 2 debt issuances, Series 1996 and Series A, Series 1998B. I will tell you that it was a good attempt at doing a nexus between parking revenues and those debt series. However, regardless of how much parking revenue we earned within the parking revenue sharing area, the city had to provide funding to support the debt service and the lighting. And so I'm going to take it into two areas. The first one is a base requirement for the city to pay $750,000 annually. And that primarily was to support the debt service associated with one of the bond issues. And of course, those bond issues, I do believe, get paid on final payment September 30th, 2026.
Can you say what the bond issuances were? So we have
They were to construct Amalie Arena.
Thank you.
The second component of the parking revenue sharing agreement had to deal with the number of attendees going into Amalie Arena, or now what is called the Mark-In. And go ahead and help me, Fed, but up to a million people going in there, we had to pay a certain amount. And once we exceeded 1 million customers into the Amalie Arena, we paid a different amount. But that was capped at a total revenue sharing of $1.5 million. Now, we'll tell you that times when the parking department did not earn revenues, such as during the last recession, the general fund had to step up and make those contributions for the parking revenue sharing agreement. Do you have any questions?
So just to be clear, this was the initial construction of now what's called Benchmark Arena was part of the how that was financed by the public portion of it was through this revenue sharing of parking.
That was the mechanism that was developed by the administration back then to say this is how we're going to pay the debt.
Okay.
And I just want to make sure that I do believe we issued two debt issuances and the county issued 2 series of bonds. So there's 4 bond issues out there.
And what portion of it goes to the lighting organization and not the city?
Okay, you had the initial $750 for the debt, and anything additional $750 went to the lightning.
Okay, so it's capped at the 750.
Correct.
Okay,
And
so that's what I was digging for. Okay, good. Councilwoman Hurtak, and then back.
how much-
Did Councilman Miranda, were you done? Okay,
How
Councilman
much was the debt altogether?
I'm doing this
Oh, no,
off
that's
the
okay,
top of
that's
my
okay.
head.
So it's about $750,000 annually that we've been paying for the
To the
last,
length, depending on the number of customers
30
going in
years.
and out, yeah.
yeah. No, but that's the debt that we're paying to pay
Yes.
off. So
Yes.
$750 every year for 30 years. And and then my other question is, when does the rest of that debt go away, having to do with the arena?
All the debt gets retired this September 30th.
Okay, so all the debt
Now,
surrounded.
There is a second component of the debt, which every time you purchase a ticket to go there, 25 cents went to pay off one of the smaller bond deals. So whether or not that ticket surcharge will continue to go into effect, I do not know.
Okay, then I do have a question, since you're standing up there. Well, actually, I'll see if anybody else has a question about this before I ask.
Okay, so again, so just so everybody knows, this is September 30th is the end of that contract, that agreement. The debt services for that portion of the bonding that was anticipated to pay will be retired on September 30th. And we will have, once those negotiations are completed, we'll have an understanding of where we stand. Is that pretty much?
I think that pretty well summarizes.
Okay, thank you.
Do you agree, Fed? I want to
Fed?
get a drinking bird from Fed.
Yes, sir, that's correct.
Okay.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Mr. Perry.
So
Okay,
actually-
anybody else have anything on this particular subject? Okay, Councilwoman Hurtak.
Thank you. If we could go back to slide 2 of the schedule of revenues and expenses. One more. There you go.
Just waiting
So
for it
we
to come
have,
back.
we have expenses here, and like all these make sense, personal operating capital debt, which by the way, really nice to see that the debt expenses are going away. But my question is about the other. What is this, I mean, it's a lot of money, and it basically just seems to kind of just slowly either creeping up or down. What is the other for?
That's fairly easy. And I'm going to take $7 million of that is going to the transportation capital project, $5 million for resurfacing, $2 million for sidewalks.
Okay, so 7 million, we have 5 for paving
Yes.
and 2 for sidewalks.
Correct.
Okay,
About $3.1 million is going to pay parking bonds that are currently outstanding. They'll be retired on or about September 30th, 2029, if I believe so.
okay. September 30th, 2029, okay.
And Fed, this is where I need your help. The remaining amount, is that going to your CIP? The
That is correct.
Parking Capital Improvement Program.
So
Yes, sir.
why isn't that in capital then?
Again, you have two funds. Again, we do fund accounting here. So revenues and operating expenses are in the operating fund.
Okay,
When we do capital improvement projects, that's in a specific capital improvement fund. In order to get the revenues from the operating fund to the capital improvement fund, you do an interfund transfer.
okay.
And that's the remaining amount.
And do we have a slide that is showing what we're going to be spending 13 million on this year? Ah, perfect. Okay,
So I believe the 9.5 would be what would be representative of
Yeah.
the longer-term capital.
okay, great. That is very helpful. Thank you.
Okay.
I have a question for Fed or anybody else who wants to answer it. The, the long pushed off capital improvement plan for wayfinding for the garages, where do we stand on that?
For, right now, we have some funding that was already approved for wayfinding, and we needed to update the signage at Fort Brook Garage. So we'll actually be moving forward with Fort Brook Garage, already work with purchasing. So that contract should be coming to council in the next 30 to 60 days for Fort Brook Garage.
So a total CIP for having, available parking spaces and wayfinding for all of our parking garages in Ybor City and the Central Business District, what would that look like?
Okay, so it's just,
Total,
I
I
want to
don't
bring
have
it
the
up for you,
full
Fed, so
total
they can
amount
see
yet.
the
Hey,
existing.
Fed, hold on a second.
Yep.
Go ahead, Hager.
So I just want to, the first slide here just represents what you guys can see every month on the internet when they publish the, kind of essentially the current spending against the active projects. So in your example, you can see where the Pam Ioria, excuse me, has started. And just for an example, that's when you've approved the elevator equipment to be purchased from. And then you can see that the next one up, I believe, and I know I'm talking about modernization and you're asking about the other wayfinding, but I just want you to acquaint yourself with, these are projects that already have funding. And then to your question specifically about, let's see, the last one says garage aesthetic and wayfinding. There's $3 million there. Fed, I think that's part of what you're referring to. Is that correct?
No, so
No.
what Councilmember Clinton was referring to is the full wayfinding package. So we actually broke that down. Instead of having one full project, we basically did it in small pieces. So the garage static and wayfinding upgrade, we attempted to do one full project where we can have the on-street spaces and the garage spaces talking to each other and having the guidance when somebody leaves. Let's say they, get off the interstate, they'll be able to know exactly which garages has open spaces. So what we're doing is doing the garage, each garage individually first, and then after that, we'll work on the on-street. So the first one that was approved is the Foothbrook garage. So we already did that project, and that purchasing already have a vendor that will be coming to City Council in the next 30 to 60 days. And then from there, I don't have any money for any other garages planned yet. I had a briefing with Councilmember Hurtak, what she actually suggested, because at first we wanted to tap into the CRAs, but because the project was going to move between different CRAs, we're not able to use the different CRAs money for that. But if we keep like Central Ybor and Palm Avenue Garage separately, then maybe we can tap into the CRAs for those two garages. So I'll be reaching out to the CRA to see if they can assist with just the Ybor garages. And then from there, we'll look into the Pam Ioria garage and the TCC garage and the Poe garage. But we don't have one full number for all the different garages yet.
Councilwoman Hurtak.
And I was just gonna say exactly that I'm hoping that CRA might be able to help with some of this. The problem is if we already put it in the capital, we may not be able to use CRA funds. So we'll have to see. But it seems like the perfect CRA funded project. And I said it at the time 2 years ago, 3 years ago, when we took it out of the budget. But
Well, and that's, I guess my question is, break this down for me in idiot form for FY27 and then the capital budget. Show me where that money is specifically for these particular projects.
We don't have anything budgeted for FY27. That
Okay.
was already.
Okay.
the
That,
corporate
okay,
garage.
now I understand, because I'm going, I thought when you were talking about this, moving forward with these things, I thought that you were telling me you did, and I go, I don't see it, okay.
what
No,
they did
we
is-
already had the funding for Foothbrook Garage.
Or Brooke, yeah, I understand that part.
Well,
Councilwoman
on
Hurtak.
Thursday, basically, they said that all of these forward projects for capital basically are on hold because of
Yeah.
November, because of the Amendment 3.
Right, okay. Okay, anybody else have anything on this one?
Just asking.
Councilman Carlson?
Fed, do you, this is an enterprise, so you can move money around from one structure to another, but do you internally have a P&L for each structure to kind of pay back if we're taking profits from one and upgrading the other? Do you eventually settle those out between different structures, or are you just looking at it as one big enterprise?
No, we have them separated by each different structure.
So for our automation folks, Councilman Carlson's microphone has like a ring to it, or it's kind of like a reverberation or feedback to it. So, FYI. Okay.
Okay. If I can see the presentation again, please. Okay. So we'll make this quick. So just as we talked about revenue and the primary piece being obviously the space rentals that happen, you can see the larger expense drivers within operating expenses. The 21 million is by and large the largest component of their expense. So similar situation. So Fed, I am showing them a walk forward here to give them a sense of how 26 is performing against the budget. And so one of the accounts, you have two accounts you use heavily. One of them is other services and one of them is other contractual services. And so the other services account, it looks like it's been, you've had some unfavorability there. And I didn't know if you were able to speak to that a little bit.
Yeah, and mostly that comes from the credit card fees. All the credit card fees fall under the other services, and as we move forward with basically most of our pay stations taking credit card only, those fees have gone up as well. But we anticipated that when we did the rate increase as well, that take into account for the additional credit card fees. And that, I know that had talked about as far as how parking or any city department can recoup some of those credit card fees. On the parking side, we have ways that we've done that. So for example, for all citations that get paid online, there's a $2.50 like convenience fee that basically offset the additional credit card fees for that.
Okay. And then moving forward into next year, Fed, so thinking of the other contractual services, that is going up about 1.2 million. That is, by and far the largest increase for you in this particular OpEx area. Is that reflecting certain vendor changes, or could you expand on that a little bit?
Yeah, and scope of services changes as well. So the two biggest one are the security contract, and then also the our maintenance for parking equipment contract, where we're basically covering more of those fully automated garages with our vendors. So those are the two biggest changes: the security and then the maintenance contract for the parking equipment.
Okay, so I'm just going to pause. Does anybody have any other questions on this slide? No.
Anybody? Nope.
Okay. And again, now I've moved on to the monthly report that comes out for capital. The reason I circled the second project, citywide parking garage and improvements, it was just to let Fed have a chance to explain. It's one of those projects that kind of amasses money every year and accomplishes multiple things. So I wanted him to just speak briefly to, you can see over the course of time, which actuals to date can be years, but I would just say, Fed, if you can give a little color as to what's in the hopper and what's been done so far in the last 12 months.
Yeah, that's basically our catch-all CIP bucket, where we, perfect example of the Rivergate Garage, that we're basically fixing all the leakings that's happening from Kylie Garden down to the garage. That's about 900,000 with that one. But majority of the garages, we have leaks issues, and they're just older garages. So that line item is where we take all of the funding for improvement of those garages. It's really just to kind of keep things going. It's not major project, kind of like the Pema Area Garage, elevator and fire alarm modernization, that's separate, the Central Ybor Garage. So any non-specific CIP project, it goes into that citywide parking garage and improvement. And we've done quite a few, like Fort Brooke on the second floor, it was leaking down to the offices, so we had to seal that area. That's really just a catch-all CIP item for us for all the garages.
So how bad the Rivergate Garage? How bad is that maintenance, and what is the long-term goal for that?
It's really bad. So we get about 330,000 a year in just the lease revenue, but every 3-4 years we have to put in another 600,000-700,000, just because all of the rainwater coming from the top seeping down. So we have the concrete spalding, we have the rebar, so we constantly have to maintain that. Until we have a long-term solution for Kylie Garden, we'll continue pouring money into just keeping the structure afloat.
And is there any, okay, so I guess I'll save that for offline. Anybody?
Yeah, we've talked to Parks and Rec for a long-term solution, but they don't have the funding to actually do something permanent with Kylie Garden.
Councilman Carlson?
Yeah, Fed, if I recall, the last time there was a major renovation or repair 15 or so years ago, was it like $10 million? Does that sound right? And then do you have any idea, I don't want to say move Kylie Garden, but do you have any idea what it would cost today? Would it be a much bigger number?
It would be, I don't believe they put all of the 10 million into it. I believe that was what was quoted. We also had a quote about 5 years ago, and that was about 15 million to actually really do work there. And again, we don't have the funding to do that full scope. So we've basically been piecemealing it. And like I said, every 2-3 years, we'll basically keep doing that until we have a permanent solution. And my understanding is until Parks and Rec take that, decision, there's nothing, parking can do because they own the top of the garage, essentially.
Can you, Fed, or somebody else in the council chambers refresh council's memory on this, the status of that garage, who owns it, what the revenue share is, who owns the dirt, and who owns the maintenance responsibility for that garage?
I can speak on the parking portion. Last time I spoke with real estate, the city still owns the land itself, and then the private entity, Banyan Capital, owns the bottom level of the garage, and then the parking division owns the top level, and then the top surface, which is Kylie Garden, is owned by Parks and Rec. So parking is essentially in between Parks and Rec and the private owner, Banyan Capital.
So the dirt underneath the garage is municipal owned, and then everything else is what, like a condo? Is that how it's treated?
An association type, yes.
Yeah, okay, very good. And when does that agreement expire, and is there a way to parlay that into something else?
I'm not sure. I think real estate has that information, but I believe last time it was more than, we still have about 10 years left.
Okay, very good, thank you.
Okay. See the presentation up again, please. Thank you. Okay, so again, included the slide. You saw this at the mid-year. I think you see it a lot. So what I like about this is, it'll walk through where we initially thought, or I should say revised, the revised budget would end up, the projection was going to be to end at 5.1. As of the June update, you can see in the middle column now, there's been some improvement. So at this point, the ending fund balance is closer to 9.4, which is great. And then all I've done is try to reflect, based on the numbers again that are in the earlier slides, where would that essentially have us land if everything were to come in as expected for the 27 recommended. Now, I will tell you, I do want Mr. Perry to review this. I think I got it right, but he didn't see this till yesterday. That being said, part of the dialogue on this slide for me to you is simply to understand where is that fund balance. And one of the things I think we all know is, earlier on the page, we talked about how the revenues themselves are flattish, or perhaps given some temporary projects, perhaps some decline happening. We know that the operating expense pressures continue, right? Probably to I won't guess a percentage, easily 4 to 5%. And then I think at some point going after 29, of course, when that piece of the debt starts to roll off, we'll get some relief there, assuming we're not going to have to restart it. But where I'm going with this is just that it's a good monitoring tool to understand if revenues stay consistent and expenses go up, you're going to be eating away at that fund balance is where I'm going. So it's just important for us to continue to look at the long-term piece of this, because it will imply when the rates would need to be, or something would need to happen again.
Councilwoman Hurtak has a question.
Yeah, I have a question, and I know because I just keep coming back to it. When I asked about the other, and Mr. Perry so graciously knew that 5 million is paving and 2 million is sidewalks, and that's great. I need to know, is that all of the budget for paving and sidewalks for the city of Tampa for FY27.
So I will remind everyone that next Monday, we will be doing the mobility, not saying you want to wait till then, but the mobility /
Yeah, okay.
stormwater.
I appreciate that. I will hold my question until then, but just knowing, I'm gonna wanna know our balance on the 41 million we had last year, how much of that has been expended. Obviously, 21 million is not something we can consider because those plans have already been done and it will take a number of years to use that money. But the rest of it, like that $20 million, how far have we gotten? Because that is still obviously one of the big main drivers that citizens ask about is paving and sidewalks. So I'm hoping that we have more than just $7 million going toward that, since it seems to be one of the biggest issues for citizens. So that's what I'm gonna look for next week.
I literally walking into the city hall told, I was talking to Brandon Campbell today, I said, don't be surprised if you don't come with at least with a good, healthy budget for paving. I bet I'm gonna go swinging for other people's budgets to supplement that paving budget, so.
Yeah, well, I mean, the thing is though, as they clearly explained, we are holding some money back, but if Amendment 3 doesn't pass, we'll be able to use more of that money. I just want a plan for that. So again, you're right. Thank you so much for stopping me. Yeah.
Councilman Carlson?
Yeah, the last 2 or 3 years, we city council have rated this balance so that we could increase the road repair budget, which was artificially low for many, many years. And that's why we have so much deferred maintenance and upset constituents. But I remember last year in particular, Fed pushed back and said, hey, I need that for my own maintenance and other things. So I wonder, first question, Fed, before somebody proposes rating the 6.3, what do you plan to do with that? And number two, since Chief of Staff walked in, you talked about, Ms. Kopesky, you talked about how the debt is rolling off, but if the negotiations with the Lightning or Benchmark Arena, International Arena are ongoing, will, in the discussion, is new debt being proposed, and would that new debt put a burden on this fund?
So again, not being involved, I cannot answer that specific question, but
Yeah,
I think by posing it,
I think he had a question for Fed though. On that.
yeah.
Fed?
Yeah, the first part is the fund balance, correct. As far as long-term, if we're building any new structure, the question will be, do we want to do, bonds, or do we want to actually save to, build the structure outright? So that's a question for either council or the administration as far as what we want to do. And then also fund balance is there for us if the revenue projections does not come into fruition. Do we have the fund balance to support the additional expenditure without the additional revenue that we have projected? So for me, the biggest thing is really having the balance there to either build a structure or fund that, because we do need new structure for parking.
Okay. And did you want to add something, Ms. Kopesky?
No, I just know we
Okay.
have someone that's joined
Well,
that I want to give.
I think that's going to be a bigger discussion, so if we want to close this part of it.
Okay, yeah.
Hear the answer from the Chief of Staff, and then maybe we could respond to both.
Okay, yes, sir.
The question to him was, in the negotiation with the Lightning and/or Benchmark International Arena, is one of the items that's being negotiated debt that may rely on this funding source?
Good morning, Council. John Bennett, Chief of Staff. The technical aspects of that negotiation of the Lightning have been going on for over a year, knowing that this deadline is coming up. But the problem is that negotiation isn't happening in a vacuum. Mobility's been negotiating that all along because of the business case between the garage and the revenue between the city and the Lightning. So that dynamic escalated to my office because of other things that the Lightning wants. The multiple agreements with the Lightning want to become coterminous. That's why Abby Feely's office is involved, mobility's involved, parking's involved. So everybody's negotiating their piece of these coterminous agreements. I can't answer your question specifically at this point. I just know that the issue that has kept this elongated is the sharing between and the deal between the parking revenue and, of course, the city's need for that revenue as well. based on the previous agreements. So we have not settled on the coterminous aspects of all those agreements. And I know that Mobility's been negotiating that for over a year from a business case and the Lightning, and it has even reached the mayor's office to the point where we're trying to sit down and figure out. And it's my understanding from Mr. Griggs is that we're very close. So, and there's another factor in that as well, but I'll leave that alone for now.
Councilman Carlson.
So I've had staff members tell me that as part of that negotiation, that you instructed staff to give the Lightning, what's now the digital billboard there, in part of the negotiation for Pan Mayorio Garage. Number one, is that true? Number two, what did we get in exchange for that if it is true?
Yeah, one, it's not true. It's not in my office. Signs happen out of my office. Legal's been dealing with that conversation because of the complexity of signs and billboards. That's nothing in my space. So to be candid, I don't know what that even means.
Okay, and you had other questions, and Chief Bennett is here. You want to?
What I had said earlier is if we have a long conversation about that negotiation, it's separate from the parking, really. Today, we're talking about parking, but if there's a separate discussion, I think instead of having each of us get potentially separate information, we ought to put them on the agenda and have them come back and talk about it.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'm always happy to show up individually or collectively in the public or elsewhere.
Well, because it's negotiations, though, it's negotiations, behind the scenes, not necessarily something you want to publicly flush out. I mean, I'd probably wait till they finish, come in and brief us.
Yeah, one of the things I found in talking to the Rays, though, since I wasn't included before, is they should have put it in public, because had they put the details out, I think we would have avoided a lot of the consternation in the community now.
Then you get that, no sense Aaron here, because it's not an agreement until it's an agreement,
Well, I can
No,
tell
but-
you at 5 a.m. to 5 p.m., everything changes each day.
An example in the Lightning is that the city's contract is totally separate than the county's, and had they been presented separately, had the city been presented separately, and if there was more transparency into it, I think there would be less opposition to the city's part of it than the county's part of it, because the city's has so few parts to it.
Right.
Just as an example.
Yeah. Councilwoman Hurtak.
I'm just ready to go on to the next slide because it's already 10 o'clock and
We're wrapping it up, so
so my
gonna have it.
question is about the next slide,
Yep.
which is,
wait till it comes back up, and then I'll be with you.
Parking organization.
yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
So, Mr. Revolt, if you want to talk about the, why we have vacant people, and one of the complaints I've gotten a lot lately is that there aren't enough on the street folks ticketing people who are not parking in actual parking spaces and/or, handling other parking issues. So if you could speak to that and how we're going to use parking, I don't know what you call them.
They're called compliance officers now.
Okay, so compliance officers, because it looks like you have 28 compliance specialists,
That's correct.
and, okay, we talked when we added, I believe, 8 last year, that they basically pay for themselves. And if there's any thought to adding more of them and/or organizing them a bit better to reach out to these neighborhoods that are experiencing more parking issues, people parking where they shouldn't be.
Yeah, so I did not put in the request to add more. I wanted to make the shift from using the officers in the garages to now where we're actually using technology to enforce. So now that those officers will be free to be out on the street more. Then once we've done that, then I'll be able to better, determine if we need more officers. But what we've done in the past 2-3 months now is using technologies for the garages. So like, if you look at Fort Brooke Garage, for example, it's 2,500 spaces with 10 levels. It will take, the officers, like 2-3 of them almost all day before they go all the way up and then come back down and having to go up again. So what we've done is remove them from all the garages, Pan Mayorio, Poe Garage, CCC, Fort Brooke, and now they'll be able to be out on the street more. The other thing that I've done is request to get more vehicles for them, so that way they're not walking as much as they used to. That basically make the process a lot easier for them to go from point A to point B a lot quicker. So I would say this year we'll be able to determine if we need more officers based on all of the changes that we've put in place to be more efficient.
Thank you, that's great news.
You said vacant people, I kept thinking about zombies.
And, you know, another positive.
Zombie barking people.
So one more positive in this slide, I know we got to wrap it up, is that you'll remember from the presentation on Thursday, parking was one of the departments who actually reduced their headcount by 2. And so in this case, I think part of it was related to, again, some of the technology efficiency, allowing him to release one. And I think the other was actually kind of shifting ratios between the team leads and the people under them. So again, that's a nice savings, probably close to 160, 175,000. Okay, so I believe if I can just see the slide one more time. All right, we'll move on from this.
Well, Fed, before you leave, I just want to say on behalf of my, we have more parking stuff.
It's 2 seconds.
Okay.
So these are supplemental slides, just so when you go forward and do what you're gonna do, this is just a reminder of the volume and where it exists within the parking garages.
What's the percentage?
Oh,
Of the
the
total number of
percentage
spots.
of overall spaces at each location. So it's not a revenue statement, it's just space. This one has to do with the lots, and again, the note here is just to remind everyone about the Selman lot number 2. Fed is helping me do a similar slide for on-street, and the reason I wanted that to be something available to you is that's one of the areas that's grown a lot. So in the last, let's call it 2 to 3.5 years, we've really lifted revenue based on the additional locations. So again, these are more supplemental slides just for information. So I'm going to stop there, and is there any other questions for Fed, for myself?
I just want to make a statement, Fed, on behalf of my office and our communication with your office, I think that you are always so responsive and so professional, and I appreciate your contributions and how well you work with council.
Thank you, appreciate that.
Okay. So we have options. I know we have the entire group
Who
here.
wants to go next?
Let's go on to let's go on to solid waste. Yeah. All right, so need to have the second presentation up, please. Great, thank you. Okay, similar flow, okay, overarching. We're going to walk through a similar slide that breaks down a little bit more the contributors to the overall revenue source. And then you can see that we'll have to do the same with operating, so we'll just move on through. Okay, so we're going to do a similar walk forward like I did on the previous presentation. However, clearly we can see from this that the majority of the revenue comes from the primary rental, whether it be commercial or residential. So not a surprise. Just some of this is to give you scale. I guess the one thing I would say is I understood it. We have increases that are planned and occurring every year for 5 years. So did we essentially use the same assumption? I think like a 10% or so increase for the water rates for the, oh my God, you know what, I've been looking at these and I'm skipping to the next one. I'm so sorry, you guys. This is what happens when you go from department to department.
We're talking garbage.
Apologize, we're talking garbage, not yes, we absolutely are. Sorry about that. So moving on. All right, so some of these themes you're going to recognize. So we know that we've moved away from Seminole Energy. We had planned a greater amount for 2026. Unfortunately, that is a takeaway from revenue. So Fed, Larry. Sorry. Yeah, Larry.
Hey, Hager.
I know. I apologize. I really do need to take a breath. I'm trying to keep people moving here, and now I'm starting to lose my focus. So let me just regroup. So I was hoping that he could speak a little bit to, obviously the budget was built on a certain number of assumptions, and we can see that the supplemental primary rentals have come in, close to $6.5 million less. So I don't have a lot of background on that, and I was hoping you could just shed a little bit of light.
Thank you.
This one's an easy one.
Yeah.
All right, well, good morning. Larry Washington, Director of Solid Waste. And then in regards to the supplemental rental and not primary, but supplemental. So one thing is the additional cart program. We anticipated 1.5 million, but however, due to Cayenta and Routeware not pairing, we had to slow down the process. We didn't want to charge the public. And the rest of it, I believe, is consolidated in another account. So once we did the rate increases, then we consolidated a lot of our, accounts. So we'll have to unpack that some.
So that should improve going forward.
Yes.
Okay. And then what, just while you're up there though, is
Yes,
there
ma'am.
something about the supplemental?
Uh-huh.
Or you were just explaining
Yeah,
it?
so that's supplemental, and then the primary cleaning as well. Because we're still cleaning and repairing our containers. We can't stop that. And that's primarily for the roll-off containers and our compactors too. And then, of course, our front-load containers too. So commercial.
Okay, so I think for me, what I was just trying to make sure is the overall drop that occurred, it was very easy to understand the shift in a strategy around Seminole.
Yes.
But these others, are they all temporary?
So one is going to be temporary, that's the additional carts, that's going to improve. And then two, I have to see exactly where all of the other accounts are aligned.
Yes.
To answer that question.
No, that's fair, that's fair.
So the new energy program with TYR is, that is anticipated to more than double the Seminole Energy? No,
No, so,
half. That's,
yes, yeah, around half.
that's what I was,
being
that's
conservative
what I
as well.
thought, and then I was confused with those slides. I just make sure I understood this, okay.
I hope so, but
Okay.
we're being conservative.
So about 4 million is assumed.
Yes.
Okay.
All right, so let's move on from here. Yeah, don't go too far. Okay, so many times we'll get questions just in terms of what the content, again, of the majority of the expenses are coming from. And so we're gonna, again, move over to the walk forward. These are just giving you the account names. Obviously, it's utility-based. The franchise fees, operate because that's the way they execute based on them being a business fund. Keep saying, So moving over here, so the call-outs here, and I think what we wanted to discuss is, you are familiar with the account motor pool. You see it. Motor pool basically encompasses the fuel itself for vehicles, as well as if there are repairs and maintenance required on those vehicles. And the repair and maintenance is performed, as I understand it, by fleet.
Yes.
Yes. So this particular year, 26, just to give you the baseline first, part of the unfavorability that they're having to work through is a kind of hockey stick up in motor pool expense. And so one of the things I think very high level we'll talk to, we can certainly discuss more, is this seems to be a little bit of a one-time, right?
Yes.
So that's really what I wanted you to understand, because they're gonna see how you've moved that account forward, and I just want them to understand some of the reasons for why it popped.
Okay. All right, Larry Washington, Director of Solid Waste. In regards to motor pool, so after discussing with fleet, there's been a number of on-time, on-schedule repairs that we have to make, so such as the arm repairs. And that's for our ASLs, which we have, and that's the automated side loaders, the garbage trucks. So at a certain point in time, around like 6 years, they need to be rebuilt, either rebuilt or replaced. And fleet determined it was faster to get them back if we replace them versus rebuild them. So now they're taking a different approach moving forward. However, we needed them to continue operations. So that's a one-time thing. So every few years, we may see something like this, but not on a regular.
So this, you're saying, reflects the repair approach that's not going to continue, it would be more of a CIP going forward to
The
replace?
repair approach that shouldn't continue.
Should not continue.
Yes, over the next few years, and then, of course, we'll have to revisit them. So, and then another item was brakes as well.
Which one?
Brakes,
Brakes?
yeah.
Okay. Okay, again, the point of this is.
Hold on one second. Councilwoman Hurtak.
So while, we see this shift up, shift down, shift up, shift down, is there a way that we'll ever see sort of a balanced approach then of every year, instead of like 5 million every 3 years, maybe it kind of evens out to?
So it should
Like
even out
two-
moving forward, exactly.
Okay.
So previous years, it was roughly 8, 9 million, so it was very steady.
Oh, okay.
So now this just, we had a mass increase in purchasing vehicles. There was a point in time we had to wait for a lot of vehicles. It was a 2-year wait, and then they all came at one time.
Okay,
So then now those repairs are due at once, unfortunately.
okay, so.
Versus our staggered approach.
Okay, so the staggered, okay, that makes sense. So, but you're talking, when you say replace, the arms, you're talking about just replacing the arms, not replacing the entire vehicle.
Oh, yeah, just replacing the arms.
Okay,
Yep.
that's, I just wanted to clarify so that the public understood, and I understood.
Okay,
Just curiously, like, what does it cost to replace an arm?
around 24,000.
Okay, so we're talking about 48,000 per? Or no, oh, you're saying 24 for
24,000 per each vehicle.
per vehicle, okay. That's actually not terrible for replacement value, cost, but that's a lot of vehicles.
Yeah, that's the,
And
that's
then
the
putting
thing,
them out
it's
of
a lot of
service.
vehicles,
Yeah, okay.
over 70.
It's not in my wheelhouse to understand what an arm of a garbage truck costs.
That's why I asked.
He could have told me $150,000, and I said, okay, that sounds well, you know.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Mr. Kopesky, you had something
Yep,
else?
just
to
while
say?
he's up here as well,
Okay.
the other contractual services, so you did have some favorability there this year. Just wanted to ask if that was something that you've had to push and will kind of reappear next year, or was that truly, we just had some room in the budget and we didn't need to do it?
That was from us, from the Fed. After having the challenges with the waste energy facility going down, we went through and scrubbed all of our contractual services and then cut back exponentially, as you can see. So we shouldn't have an increase of those. It should be stagnant moving forward now.
Yeah, it's modest. I mean, the 500 I would consider
Yeah.
fairly modest compared to, you know, where you had been, so. Okay, so I am.
Hold on one second, Councilwoman
So
Hurd.
I do want to go back to a conversation we had earlier, though, about, and this came to us, I would say, maybe a month ago, about the cost of personnel and the need for so much temporary labor and the struggle of getting people to work in this department more long-term.
Was that from?
I thought so.
Aging
No.
out, kind of, remember the group? you were
Oh,
talking
so aging out, oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, so, we have two different things. So we have, our our waste energy facility and those individuals, and in regards to aging out. So, a lot of them were working for Wheelabrator, so now they're working for us as well. And, just getting that talent in is sometimes it's hard, but we're sitting at around 5% as far as vacancies. So
Okay.
overall, we're doing very well. And then we have to just take some more time to build up our new employees. We have a lot of folks coming from the military to come and work at the waste energy facilities. And then there's a few plants that actually were shut down, and now they're coming over here as well. So it just takes time to get them churched up in regards to our facility, because not one facility is the same.
Okay, thank you. Did you
I'm
just
confused
say
for a
churched
second.
up?
Oh, yes. Excuse me.
I love
Yeah,
that. That's a phrase I hadn't heard before. I think I like that.
All right. Okay, moving on. I can get it back, yeah. Okay, so we talked about this. Okay, so again, looking at the report that would be available every month, active projects. The 4 I circled in red are just simply material projects. Some of them used to be on the grade 8. I'm gonna pause. If any of you would want Larry to comment on where the progress of these are going, if there's any, issues, challenges, they're significant. And, for example, the one that we have still open for the McKay Bay Waste to Energy retrofit. I know that for the most part, we went through that project. I believe there was some critical piece of equipment that might be left, but other than that, I believe it's complete. So I'm gonna let them, if you'd like to have any further, it looks like we've got one light on.
Councilman Carlson, you have the floor.
Yeah, I just, sorry if this is coming up in a future slide, but Larry, looking back, what was now that I think it's all done, with the shutdown because of the changing of the boiler, where is that reflected on what the total cost is? And then will we have any kind of shutdown the coming year? Are you not projecting one? So there should be a savings from that, correct?
Okay, so in regards to the complete retrofit, so you'll see, if you go back to the slide, the only thing that's left is the 4.1 million, and that's for transformers. So we want to go back and then have a relook at that, because we want to essentially power that whole peninsula. So we had to upgrade the transformers. So we had to work with Arcadis to make sure we buy the right ones. So that's one thing. But to go back to your question, so I can't foresee any large any large retrofit like that happening again because we took over. And that was a lot of maintenance that should have took place previously, but then now it did not, so we had to pour a lot of money into the plant to get it up and running to perform like it is now, which is great. So we won't see another $100
Do you know what the total cost was in hindsight of what that shut down?
Yeah, 100 million.
No, not the whole retrofit, but just the shutdown part. The cost of shutting down, because that piece of equipment was the only one you had to shut it down. Like if you have a bunch of transformers and you're replacing them, presumably you don't have to shut down for that. But I'm just curious what the shutdown cost was.
Day by day breakdown?
Because you were shipping up to Pasco and also we weren't selling energy then, so what was the total?
So if we have to haul all of our, let's say if the shutdown happens again and we have to shut down the plant for a whole year, if we have to haul all that waste to a landfill, it's going to cost us roughly $45 million.
For a year?
Yes.
So you think we were shut down for a couple months, so you think it was like $4 million, $8 million then was the cost? You probably had other
I
costs.
can go back and pull up those slides.
Okay,
and
I'm just curious.
Find it for you.
Because it seems like that would be a savings on this year too. And while I have the floor, I just want to say also, I get very few complaints about this department, but Larry and his team always handle them quickly. But I think we all travel a lot, and we forget every day, despite all the problems. There's so many places in the world where they don't pick up trash every day, or where it's inconsistent. And if a truck misses your garbage once a year, it really is a miracle that this service runs so smoothly and efficiently. Thank you.
Yeah, I want to echo what he just said also, is, it's just coming from that lead conference, and we talked about environmental issues and things, and, part of what your department is doing with composting and with, again, I think one of only 2 municipally owned and operated waste to energy plants in the United States, and what that brings for our environmental issues in the state, I think is important. I'll say that, I know we're coming up on the CIP. Hopefully I'll get reelected and I'll have 4 more years on council. Before I leave council, I'd like to see starting a CIP projects for the expansion and replacement of this, because it's not going to be cheap, and so we're going to have to project out. I'll be dead and gone before it comes online, but I'd like to see some planning for the next generation of this facility. I think that we have to start planning, 15 years in advance, because the cost of all of this, it's going to be so high. But thank you for what you're doing. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Yep, just get the slides back up again. All right, so looking forward to the next 5 years, you can see compared to where we've come from and the significance, these are relatively light in terms of future needs. I think you've just brought up one area that you kind of want to chip away at going forward.
Right.
Larry, anything here you want to comment on as far as wish list or?
Well, I can speak to the last item. So it says WTE, electrical power transmission. So that's our plan to power that whole entire peninsula that we sit on. Given our financial state right now, we'll probably push that back a few years. More than likely, we will push that back a few years to make sure that we get caught back up and that we're not depleting the fund balance as fast as we were.
Okay.
Outside of that,
Councilman
everything else is needed.
you wanted to say something?
No, just Councilman Carlson just reminded me, I think you're the most complimented, your department, that we get. So when he had mentioned that we get very few, people rave and your level of service is very good. So I just wanted to say that, that's all.
Well, thank you.
It's because you're a TikTok star.
All right, last slide. So we won't spend much time on this, but this is something that probably will come back just to give a little bit more background. But last year when we did solid waste, we gave a bit of a view into the equipment that actually exists within the area. In this case, the majority of the trucks obviously are for collection, but embedded in that other area, there's a number of things, trailers, I'm not gonna even go through it. But sometimes people will ask, well, what typically would the lifespan of some of these be? So you can see they run between 5 and 6 for the large trucks. This is a simple average of taking the entire group of assets that we have and roughly where we are. You are correct. There's been an incredible surge in the last, maybe 18 months of new vehicles. So I think it's just a matter of I'll use my words, kind of wait and watch to see how those new ones flow into the situation, and then how that essentially balances out the use of the maintenance in the motor pool account. So, and just to tie back in the earlier slide, you would see the projection for this year is the 14.9 we discussed. This is just reflecting the 11 million that's occurred through June. Okay, so I did not make a fund balance sheet. I would like to provide one to you, so I'll work on that with these guys, and these guys being Revenue and Finance. And in terms of debt, I think we're going to probably have a larger conversation at some point, not today, just in terms of, we know, and I want to say this right, we carry any debt today currently in the general fund for solid waste. The way that it actually presents itself, it's been issued under the general fund, I believe, right? No? Okay, I'm sorry, then I shouldn't have guessed that. You want to come up for a minute? Got it.
Can we put the wolf on, please?
It'll activate when you
Okay.
say your name, and they'll bring it up.
Michael Perry, Deputy Chief Financial Officer. We have two series of debt out there totaling about $250 million. They are split between the non-ad valorem. We did that on the retrofit of the waste-to-energy plant before council approved the new rate increases, and that's about $120 million. Then after the rate increases were approved by the city council, we issued a line of credit up to $130 million of the line of credit, which consists of two projects. One is the relocation project that is now under construction, and the building of the new solid waste fleet facility, which is still under design. The initial plan was to take them out in 2027, but given, as we've talked to you about the financial status, we've heard about the generator. What blew?
What didn't blow, but the generator.
Okay, the generator cost us $10 million. The facilities, fleet, and then the unknown of how much revenue we're going to get in with the transition from Seminole to the new firm that will be selling our electricity on the market. We felt it would be better to get another year of financial data under our belt before we enter the market.
Councilwoman Hurtak?
Question for Mr. Washington, or maybe Mr. Perry. You mentioned a little bit earlier in the presentation about the additional carts roll-off, or the idea was if you have two carts, you're gonna have to be paying for it, and that had kind of slowed down.
Yes.
Because of technical difficulties. Where are we, and when do you expect to be fully going with that?
Well, Larry Washington, Director of Solid Waste, so great question. So right now we're working with both Routeware and Kayenta. So we have our billing system, Kayenta, and then Routeware, which is our routing system. So now they're working well. So we had a small pilot, which was successful.
Okay.
So now we plan on doing a full launch. So we are working with the comms team to push this out to the public, to let everyone know that they can either keep their additional carts that they have out there, or they can ask for one, and then we can provide it for a small fee for processing.
Okay.
So that's very soon, within this next fiscal year.
Okay, so you anticipate by the end of fiscal year 27 that will be fully complete. And just for the public, that's if you have two cans, you're gonna have to either give one back or start paying for both of them.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Great, thank
you.
you.
Thank you. Anything else? That's it, okay. Does that complete that presentation? Does council have any further questions? No? Okay. Let's talk, Councilman Carlson.
Just, Larry, can I ask you one more question, since this is the most
Is it about his beard?
No, and it's not about TikTok. The most common question I get is the shortage of the blue cans. Can you just tell the public what the status of that is and when we think that'll be solved?
Yep, so we placed multiple orders, so we had to get rid of a vendor. And then after that finished, then now we have a vendor that is producing, and we have multiple orders already coming in. So we have a surplus of containers, of garbage containers and recycling. It's usually garbage that they are asking for. So we have a surplus on site, and now we have more coming in. So that's not an issue any longer. Great, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Washington. Okay, let's talk water and wastewater.
I have one quick question before water and wastewater. I
Okay.
did notice that our fifth enterprise fund, which we don't really talk about very often, the golf courses, that it looked like we about doubled the cost this year. Can anybody speak to why we're doubling the cost for the golf courses? And of course, I'm trying to find it, and I can't, but
I'm going to ask for an alibi. Can we go to water and wastewater while I prep?
sure, not a problem. Yeah, no, hey, then I'm glad I asked the question now. But yes, I was just curious about that. So yeah, go ahead, water, wastewater, and then I'm gonna find it, because I know I saw it somewhere.
Good morning, Rory.
All right.
So-
Good morning, Rory Jones with the Water Department. I'll try to keep this high level. Basically, we're presenting you a balanced budget. It's a $238 million budget, both expenses and revenues, and 232 of that is represented by the charge for services. Operating, we've got about $58 million. I don't, all our stuff was wrapped up in Brad's, okay. But that was really focused on accomplishments, and so I'm looking at really the pitch going forward that Alan mentioned, so.
Yeah, you guys got the brunt of it because you're the first to come, so hopefully the next week and the week after that, people will be, meet expectations.
So this is our audible, and unfortunately I don't have a clean presentation, but still willing to answer any questions. So we do have our operating expenses really, it did decrease by 2 million from last year. Really that's as a result of our chemicals are down by 1 million. If you recall, we sunset the use of gaseous chlorine rail car system, and so we had some simultaneous chemical buying going on. That is no longer going to be the case. And our professional services is down by 3 million. We've got a bunch of various stuff that's going up this year. We're projected to go up between computers and fiber optics, voice over IP, various materials and supplies. But overall, our expenses are down by 2 million from last year projected. Debt, you know, we do have a $28 million in debt services. 16.9 of that is in interest, and 11.1 in principal. Our capital we're bringing to the table here is really nothing revolutionary. It's continuing to maintain, it's a $103 million project where we're focusing on hundreds of different pipelines around the city. But, you know, want to bring to your attention, as I have done in the past, you know, our construction costs are continuing to rise, and we're having to make some of these hard decisions in prioritizing work. And we do see a slowdown on the pipeline side, and we are prioritizing the David L. Tippin projects above the pipeline. At this moment, you know, we're full speed ahead with the pipeline, and we've seen great success with the pipes program because of it. Our water loss is down, our reactive, large-scale main replacement reactive work is down as well. And we use an asset management software that prioritizes this work, and it'll rank, you know, each pipeline segment between a 1 and a 5. 5 being kind of the worst, emergency, need to replace it. And we use various criteria, you know, physical, you know, the age, you know, the pressure that it sees, the flow that it sees. You know, does it serve a hospital? Does it serve a school? Is it in a collector road? Is it in a residential road? You know, it's a risk-based model that takes account that consequence of that failure of that main and the likelihood of that failure. And we, like I said, we give it a score of 5 through 1, and I can say over the first 6 years we've knocked out all our 5s, all our 4s, And that's the results of what we're seeing today. And so at some point in the future, we'll have to have a conversation around rates to cover our construction costs. But in the meantime, we're going to continue to scrutinize costs and do everything we can to stretch that dollar further. Not pulling the fire alarm right now because we've seen this progress, but it's a trend that we'll have to continue watching. So that's why we're really kind of regrouping and focusing on our DLT projects. And like I said, nothing really new here. 6, our ozone, filter expansions, raw water, nothing really new to the table. We're just continuing to maintain that momentum and staying ahead of regulations there. So I apologize, I don't have a pretty presentation, but that's really where we're focusing our money and kind of reallocating and prioritizing our work at the moment.
Councilwoman Hurtak.
Thank you so much. You and I have had some conversations offline about just water availability. And by the way, like, I don't know about the rest of you, but I really, every time it rains, I think of you, and I probably don't want that to be
That is a problem, that you live in my head.
Yeah, I mean, every time it
sorry.
rains, I keep thinking, oh, Rory must be so happy. I'm sorry. So you do, you're in our thoughts right now, but one of the things that you publish a really wonderful report every week about water and lack of water and what our, how our water reserves are going. But my big concern is the cost of buying water from Tampa Bay Water. And so I asked, because one of your reports said, oh, we didn't have to buy any finished water this week. And I thought, oh, I wonder how much we're buying. And so I thought, I just emailed and said, well, how much water have we bought this year? And you're like, we buy water all the time. So that to me is a problem, having to buy water from another agency, because similar to Mr. Washington coming up and talking about when something goes down, us having to truck our garbage elsewhere, it's an increased cost. So buying water is expensive. So if you could talk a little bit about the cost of buying water, how much water we bought, and what would it take for us to not have to buy water? I mean, I know this is a little off tangent, but to me it is important economically, especially to your department, as you're talking about having to move back on these bigger projects. What is it going to take for us to stop buying water from Tampa Bay Water?
That's a difficult question to answer, but let me do my best. I'm going to hit it straightforward here. I don't think we'll ever be able to completely get off from Tampa Bay Water. If anything, I see a more reliance on them. Our permit is, we're allowed to pull 82 million gallons per day on annual average from the Hillsborough River. And anything above and beyond that is something that we rely on Tampa Bay Water for. Now, there are times where, just like now, we're running at 69 million gallons per day. The river is not producing. And so even though we have the permit capacity available, the river is not producing, so we are buying from them. At this moment, it's a pass-through rate. Whenever we do buy from Tampa Bay Water, that rate gets directly passed on to our customers. And we don't see that ever really sunsetting. What we can do is work with our regional partners and help keep costs low and look at opportunities to share resources and overall look to help keep costs low for the region.
I think my bigger question is goes to what a lot of folks are concerned about: additional development and the water resources that are required. So really my question is, how do we reduce water usage? And in the reduction of water usage, is there a way, when you pass through on the bill, does it say on the bill specifically that this water is coming from Tampa Bay Water, and now that you have...
It does. I forget the exact term, but it is distinguished on there.
Okay.
Do you
I was wondering if there was a way that we could make it clearer to the public.
We
in the
are going
bill.
through a bill update right now because of some of these questions we've heard from our customers and looking to provide a lot more clarity with that new bill
Okay,
redesign.
well, I'm happy to hear that because really, I think that's what people are going to start to understand is if you are paying, and then the balance of that. So I'll let Mr. Baird speak to that, but I'm thinking, you know, for the folks who are reasonable with their water usage, are they also having to pay more, or is it the people who are just overusing water that are the ones that are forced to pay this extra amount?
It is,
Go ahead. Brad Baird, Infrastructure and Mobility Administrator. So the bill itself says Tampa Bay Water Pass-Through, and it's a separate line item. When we buy water from Tampa Bay Water, every customer pays their share based on the volumetric, the volume of water that they use. So if you use less water, you pay less Tampa Bay Water Pass-Through.
And I just, and maybe it's not possible, but I'm just curious what it would be if people keep it below, there's a tiered system for water. If folks keep it in the first tier, is there a way that they don't have to pay that pass-through fee and that pass-through fee goes toward people who pay more? I mean, it may not be possible, but as you're looking at billing, I really think that's a carrot for people who are not overusing water.
So right now, that it is not set up in our billing system
Okay.
for that way, obviously, but we can certainly look at that. It would be very complicated in our billing system to try to do that, but.
I'm just trying to think of other ways to really incentivize reducing water usage and or using reclaimed water, like we have rain barrels at our house and things like that. So how are we, and then of course, we're taking away more and more of our turf so that we don't have to rely on using potable water or, drinking water to water a lawn. I'm just trying to figure out ways that we can really incentivize that. I think while we may never be able to stop buying, I really believe that should be a realistic goal.
Okay.
yes.
Understood.
It should be top of mind of what can we do to stop. And maybe that's just, anyway, I'll stop on that because I see that others want to talk about it. But it is really critical as we're talking about water. That is a way that we're going to be paying for more of the pipes and programs and things like that. If we don't have to keep paying for more water, more of our money can go toward the improvements that our city so desperately needs.
Councilman Carlson, then Councilwoman Young.
Yeah, I know my colleagues know this, but just for the public, Tampa Bay Water was reformed in 1998 as a regional cooperative between 6 member governments in the region. The idea is that they would work together on common sources and common treatment plants and diverse sources of water, which include a desal plant and reservoir and other things. The interlocal agreement in Tampa Bay Water prohibits new sources. Member governments cannot add new sources, and in fact, the deal with Tampa Bay Water is Tampa Bay Water took on debt to buy the existing sources from other folks, and the idea initially was to stop pumping of groundwater and then replace it with other sources. And folks always ask about the desal plant. I was just in Singapore and I met with their water and wastewater people and stormwater people, and they don't use their desal plants very often either because I think the wholesale rate for in general is like a little over $2 a thousand gallons, but for the desal it's like $8. So why would you use the most expensive water? Our rates would be even higher if we use that all the time. Yep. And we could, but it depends on how much we want to pay. I talked to Ed Tarangic, who was chair of Tampa Bay Water at the time, and he said that he and Dick Greco met and they arbitrarily flipped a coin and said, we're going to leave the Hillsborough River and its 82 MGD in the deal for the city. There are some prior administrators and lawyers who disagreed with that and thought it gave Tampa some kind of rights, but the reality is that the other 5-member governments sold their sources and have hooked up to this regional system. We hook up to it. We sold some of our sources up by the Green Swamp and an old treatment plant up there, but we kept our treatment plant. We kept our source for the river, and so beyond that, we're required by the interlocal agreement to tap in because of the enormous cost of building the regional system, but also the idea of collaborating. Tampa Bay Water is still ranked one of the best cooperative agreements in the entire world. Remember, the city a few years ago tried to push several times toilet tap. We on city council stopped them. The interlocal agreement, I believe, prohibits it anyway, although some of the lawyers here at one time said it was okay. We also pushed for more purple pipes. The staff at the time came back and said that purple pipes were the most expensive option, so they didn't want to do that. But if we use purple pipes, meaning you could use potty water in your yard, then that in theory would allow for more potable water that we could drink. And I think at some point we ought to revisit that. There was a small pilot during the Iorio administration. It didn't work as well as they expected, so they killed it. But the last question I'd like to ask, do you know all in the cost per 1,000 gallons of our water? So the extraction from the river, the transmission to the water treatment plant, the cost of treatment, and then the transmission back versus what you're paying. I don't know what the current rate is for Tampa Bay Water, like $2.25 per 1,000 gallons or something. How much does it cost us per 1,000 gallons to produce the water from front to back, including all costs, compared to what we're paying for Tampa Bay Water?
Okay, it's, so we buy at $2 and roughly 62 cents per 1,000 gallons. Our treatment costs are running right around $1.40 to 42 per 1,000 gallons, plus our distribution costs and meter reading costs and billing costs. So that lower tier is aligning to that, and we are a little bit above, I believe, the $3 per gallon, per 1,000 gallons, I believe, at the moment.
So the thing is, if we could use purple pipes and again, if we're going to put water, and everybody wants to do zero escaping, that would help save us a lot of water too. But if people would rather put the potty water on the yards, that it would cost a lot to build it, but it would save potable water in the end. But I think what my colleague suggested about the billing is correct. Maybe there's a way to adjust it to further, instead of pitting really the wholesale water versus the water we're producing. What we could do instead is just further incentivize people to be below a certain threshold. And in doing that, we need to communicate it too and say, you were at X last month. If you were just 10 gallons less, you would have paid a lot less because of that or something like that.
Yes, certainly. When we have those future conversations, we've got a bunch of ideas kind of baked in here that I would love to share when the timing's right. But there are great opportunities like that.
Councilman Carlson, I believe you were in communications and PR. I think calling it potty water on your yards is if you're trying to encourage the use of reclaimed water
versus drinking it.
Versus drinking it, but you might want to revisit that as far as a messaging point. Councilwoman Young.
No, I just want to make a quick point to Councilwoman Hurtek. I think thinking long-term about, how we're using the water and how to incentivize people to use less water. I know it's, not necessarily for budget conversation, but just like as a long-term fact, because listening to these numbers, from 82 million a day, but we're only pulling 69 because the river isn't producing, is a little bit alarming. That's alarming. And so I think if we, looking into the future, like, thinking about like Amendment 3, when we put out there, like, this is what it means, this is what, this is the possibilities, like really having like a campaign to say, like, listen, we need to save our water and really going all in to help with that. Because I don't know, when you said that, I was like, we're running out of water. That's really scary to think about. So I think just for future, reference and how we're, thinking about longevity is something I think we should really think about. So
I
that
think
was it.
it's a shame that Councilman Miranda's not here because of
Oh,
course
he
his
knows all
his
water.
advocacy with Tampa Bay
Yeah.
Water. But it was one of those things. We kind of got the benefit of both worlds when that was designed because of, like Councilman Carlson highlighted, that we've kept some of the resources to ourselves, so that much to the displeasure of many in our area, that we have our own allocations and resources. But it's kind of designed as a fail-safe operation so that we use the water in the most cost-effective way that we produce, but we also have the ability to pull into the greater co-op of Tampa Bay Water when needed. It's obviously, many folks warned us. We are living in a world of climate change, and we're now seeing it all over. What we see out west and what we see with our unpredictable water supply. It's not a happenstance, and it's something that for years people denied, and now we're seeing the results of it. Councilwoman Hurtak.
One of the things though is that 69 MGD now in the drought?
It
Yeah,
is.
so-
It is.
so-
So it's not
Yeah.
typical, but that's now in the drought on an annual average. That's what we're running. And we're making up some of those resources from Tampa Bay Water, buying from Tampa Bay Water. But that's where that update includes that regional reservoir, right? That's what's people are pulling from that regional reservoir.
I will state this again, I do think another area where the city can lead is in the landscaping we choose and to be drought resistant, and we just don't do that. Like the landscaping, City Hall is beautiful, and the T-Mob, the area is really lovely, but if we put in native plants, we wouldn't have to water as much, quite frankly. And so I really think that's an overall issue, is that if you want to ask people to do something, you need to lead by example. So I'm really excited about thoughts you have, obviously not during this conversation, but at other times you said when it's appropriate to talk to people about what are these types of things that we can do as a community to make sure that people really understand that turning on the tap is consequential.
Yeah, we're past the days of cheap water. Water going forward is going to continue to climb. Councilman Carlson mentioned the desalination plant. It's the same way at Tampa Bay Water. And, at this point, we are going to continue to ramp up conservation messaging and any opportunities to incentivize, because it's only going to go up from here, unfortunately.
Can I just say one more thing?
One real quick, and then Councilman Carlson, then we're going to move on past this.
Well, one, I love the native plant conversation. And two, I think y'all saying earlier about the water. I always cared about the environment, but it literally wasn't until I was elected official. When it rains, I'm like, yes, yes, we need the water. We need
I'm checking, levels out here in the crowd. It's going up. Things are looking a little bit
Councilman
better.
Carlson.
Yeah, the other thing is that Tampa Bay Water, by the interlocal, has a 20-year plan and a 10-year supply, and they update that annually, and they're always looking for new projects. They have a long-term pipeline of new projects. But we as local governments and members have to tell them what our demand is, and I think our demand was lower than 13 MGD. There's times when they've had to supply 40 MGD, which I know was way above what they had promised, and they did it anyway, even though it wasn't contracted. But it seems like if we're hitting a time where we're regularly hitting 69 or 40 or whatever, that we could go back to them in our supply projections and say, hey, we're going to need to fill this gap, and so we need you guys to add more capacity. The other thing, and I get people make fun of me because I mention Singapore all the time, but one of the things that they talked about in their system, on their stormwater and their potable water system, is they have these little micro sensors that are connected to the internet. They're everywhere on every line. So we've seen, I've talked to you anecdotally, we've had little pipes break in people's front yards, and that wastes a lot of water. But they have these little micro sensors everywhere along their system. And one of those little things breaks in somebody's yard, they don't have to call. The neighbor doesn't have to call, the sensor automatically sees it. And so I know that stuff exists. I'm just curious, maybe as you're looking,
Yes.
you could come back at some point and say, okay,
Yes.
here's the Cadillac or whatever of sensors that we could do. But if it saves 10 or 20 MGD a year because it's not pouring into the street from a broken pipe, that might be worth it. So just something to think about. Thank
Yep,
you.
yep, totally.
Hey, one last thing is that one of the issues that we have, and is this for you all fresh, and then when we get to wastewater as well, is the energy use of producing water and the energy use of cleaning water is astronomical. It's one of the highest usages of our electricity in the area. Are you exploring, and maybe you don't have to answer me now, I would say as we move forward, if both departments, if the fresh and our wastewater departments would look at new technologies as a way to explore to reduce our energy consumption in these departments, because they are the number one usage of electricity. If there's a way of reducing those costs, I think if there's technology out there, if we look forward, and maybe, I don't know, but just a challenge to you and a challenge to the next presentation of figuring out a way of reducing electricity costs for the productions.
Will do, and there's opportunities, and of course, the solar is everything we're looking to incorporate on all our projects. There are some additional ones we will continue to explore and are on the radar.
Yeah, I would have to think that there's got to be some technologies that are evolving out there, the way to produce, clean
Energy
water.
recovery for when we're putting in ground storage tanks, right? We're pumping from one point to the next, and there's the inline generators that you don't need that height. These are, it's essentially wasted energy, water
Nice.
flowing into this ground storage tank, and we can recapture that through a inline generator.
Well, I know if there's anybody out there that's capable, ready to stand up and find these things, I know it's going to be you. So, yes, and I appreciate it. It is kind of crazy that you live rent-free in all of our heads.
Well, I'm sorry about that.
Every time
But
it
I
rains.
appreciate the support.
It's kind of weird. Every time it rains, the first thing that pops in our head is you. Yeah, exactly. Well, thank you very much for the presentation.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Let's talk about potty water.
Eric Weiss, wastewater department director. And by the way, I'm the only person that doesn't like the rain because it gets into our wastewater system and we have to spend money on electricity and chemicals. Talk about our 27 operating budget. Overall, we're about 1.1 million under the current year. That includes some individual cost increases, $1.5 million for chemicals, electricity, fuel at the site. But we were able to mitigate that through our capital equipment purchases. I don't know if you know, but wastewater, we have almost 200 vehicles, from 11 wastewater cleaners. Have you ever seen them going down the street with the big tanks cleaning our gravity pipes? 7 TV trucks constantly inspecting our gravity pipes, dump trucks. We rely on that budget every year from fleet maintenance. They do a whole analysis based upon the age of the equipment, how many miles are on it, and come up with a formula. So we rely on them to say, hey, your existing fleet needs replaced. So that's what this budget reflects this year. We are down one position this year. We had a communications specialist retired after 40 years. We were able to share that with solid waste and then just not refill that position. And along those same lines, I don't know if you know, wastewater department is down 49, 50 positions from the year 2000. We went through an optimization program because there was a threat, like in Milwaukee and Atlanta, that privatizers were going to come in and take this over. Well, we reduced that, our labor by 40 positions. We've gone up one. A few years ago, we got a new safety person. So that's how we're trying to keep our operating budget in check. Talk about our capital project, $181 million this year. And it's a bunch of different projects. I'll just go over some of them. One at the plant, I think Davis Island would be happy. $19 million for a new odor control system at the headworks of the plant. Design is done. We're about ready to bid that out in the next few months. Another oxygen generation plant. I don't know if people know, we generate 60 million tons a day of liquid oxygen at the plant that we use in the process. That existing system was built in the 1970s. You can't get parts anymore, and it's very old technology. There's newer technology that's out there. So this budget in 27 is the equipment purchase under the design build. We want to get that going before we finish the GMP. Another one, some neighborhood things. We have a Knights Avenue pumping station, just in the neighborhood, Knights Avenue, west of McDill. I don't know if you've ever seen, there's a big, I think it's Frontier or Verizon. It goes from Wallcraft to street behind it, and it's a big telecommunications building. We've never put a generator at our station because we don't have room. So we just finished negotiations to get an easement from them. It's coming to council in the next few weeks. Another one, Sulphur Springs Pumping Station. It's about 13th Street in Nome on the north side of the river. One of our big regional stations. It takes all the water from New Tampa, USF, all the way there and heads south to our treatment plant. The project this year is also design build to buy the equipment, to get that, to save money, get it right away. And the last one is Coachman. If you've seen Bayshore Pumping Station, you know, that was to stop some wastewater overflows in Bayshore Beautiful. That stops about 90% of them. It's still, that's a bowl. We still have to do a pumping station in that neighborhood and pump it out to a different collection system. The budget this year is to buy a piece of property for that future wastewater pumping station. And that concludes my presentation. Oh, you did have a question about electricity. Believe it or not, from the 1970s to about 10 years ago, a byproduct of wastewater treatment is methane gas. We use that to produce offset about 20% of our electricity costs at the plant. But those generators finally got too old. You couldn't keep them up anymore. Where we're heading now, that same methane gas, you can clean it up and put it out onto the nationwide gas system and sell it. So we're constantly talking now with, public-private partnerships. That's not what we do every day, to clean the gas and then wheel it to whatever industry, gets the best rate. We're really close. We just have to finish an existing project we're doing with our digesters. That's what makes the gas. We're going to be done in about a year and a half. So we can then start going to these P3 firms that are knocking on our door to then do a partnership with them. And to give you an idea, that's about, an equivalent gas is about a little over 1 million gallons of diesel fuel a year.
Okay. I really appreciate the fact that you're looking forward and we're looking forward and backwards at the same time, right? Of where we were versus where we need to get back going. Question for you, in this FY27 budget, is there, and I know you talked about Coachman and other overflow preventative issues, but in the larger scale with natural disasters and the release of, does this budget anticipate trying to future-proof release of effluent during natural disasters?
Yes, a couple of fronts. I could tell you about 10 years ago, we only had 26 backup generators. As of now, it's about 81. And what we do is every time we rehabilitate a station, do two things. We take all the electrical equipment, put it at least a foot above the 100-year floodplain, and put on a backup generator.
So
so we're constantly growing every year.
So the overflow, when we have, St. Petersburg's notorious issues when, dumping sewage water into the bay during natural disasters, when we've had the same types of releases. Is that more about storage or is it more about electricity?
Two things. It's electricity is one, which we're addressing, and the other one is called inflow and infiltration. And that's how we rehabilitate our pipes. Under the pipes program, we've done about 209 miles so far of rehabilitating those pipes, where you put a fiberglass liner without digging up the street. You put it in the pipe. You can do about 500 feet in 3 days, and you would never even know we were there. We're still doing that. That's been pulled back some, to be honest, because of the additional cost of construction. Our higher priority is the plant and pumping stations. We got to at least collect the wastewater and get it to the plant and treat it.
But is it, and the bottom line, is it storage of the water that's coming into the system, because water's coming, rain's coming in from everywhere. So is it just that we just run out of the ability to hold on to the material, and that's why we dump? And is there a way of future-proofing us out of that situation?
I think it's just lining the pipes, because,
Okay.
you know, there's, what that is, there's cracks. A lot of, 60% of our pipes are over 60 years old, our gravity pipes, and they made out of clay, a lot of them, and there's cracks in them, and what happens during a big storm, the water rushes through those cracks, and you've seen a lot of cave-ins come in from that, because that dirt from outside the pipe gets in the pipe, but all that groundwater takes up all our existing capacity if it's too much rain. So the way to do this is just keep lining pipes, and we'll get there.
Okay, and so we're lining clay pipes, not replacing them?
We're lining them. It's actually structurally,
I know it's cheaper, but
it's cheaper and it's structurally better. It's a new pipe within the pipe.
Okay.
The old clay pipe can just go away, and it has a structural strength.
Also, so when you line it, even if that clay pipe eventually disappears, the lining still exists?
Absolutely.
I mean, I've lined pipes in my house in Anna Maria, but
Yeah.
because I had a similar situation, but
Yeah, we kind of do similar things. We have 30,000 manholes that are also old. We go in there and we put a fiberglass, spray it in there.
So infiltration of water is coming, the most of it is coming through these cracks and?
Correct.
And not from surface points of entry?
No, that's called inflow, where some people may, on their house, connect the storm drains, you know, from their eaves into their wastewater pipes. That's an issue. We do smoke testing a lot. Believe it or not, you can just go in, like a concert smoke, you can put that through the system, and it should come out the top vent pipe of your house. But if it's on the inside of your house, or in the house like that, you know, you're connected illegally. So we then go after those people to get it fixed.
Interesting, okay. So, yeah, good. I appreciate the answer on the electricity, and I appreciate the information on future-proofing us so we don't have at least alleviate as much of a risk as we can for dumping this stuff into the bay after storms. Councilwoman Hurtak.
I'm curious about your capital project, because we're doing a lot of different, so where are we in finishing the treatment plant?
Okay, got some ways to go. We're doing a master plan update right now. You guys approved that earlier this year. That consultant's going at it to see what's left, but it also includes new regulations. As you know, PFAS, we have to, just this month, we have to sample for it. EPA is doing that. That's the first step of them saying, we'll regulate, but they don't know what that is. Our sludge we produce, we can't take it for land application anymore. You have to put it, we're currently taking it to a landfill. So there's constantly things changing, so we're updating this master plan, which is 8 years old. And that's what will come back to you guys when that's complete. And it'll have a cost in there. Hey, here's what's left.
Okay, great. That's good to know. And again, appreciate all the work you're doing with the lining of the pipes and all of that. It's a lot simpler than, you know, digging out and putting in new. And just always impressed at the work you're trying to do to, you know, think outside what you would expect to do. I mean, with the methane, saw a phenomenal example of that using garbage, but I love the fact that we can also do it using wastewater. So I think it's quite amazing. So thank you.
Yeah, I don't think people understand where we are as a city, and I didn't know until elected. Across most of our lines of business, I think we'd be the envy of most municipalities, and how we treat garbage, how we treat fresh water, how we treat our wastewater, you know, where we're going, and I appreciate the vision for both the waste and our freshwater departments as you look towards opportunities in the future to continue to have that cutting edge, because I think again, and kudos to, you know, pipes and what we're doing with the administration and doing that, because again, most administrations around the country are very envious to be able to have these types of programs, because you see these problems arise in other cities, and we've gotten on the front end of it. So it's really a privilege to be part of the city, knowing that we have some visionaries and people that are really, you know, pushing the limits on these things. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you. Any other questions? Councilwoman Hurtak.
I just want to circle back to my question about golf courses.
Oh. Say your name and it'll come up.
Oh,
Michael Perry, Deputy Chief Financial Officer. Hopefully, everybody can see that.
yes.
This is the total golf course budget, and you see the recommended is at $12.7 million, up from 8.3. And we will attribute that to two golf course projects. Thought I had it here. Oh, okay, here. Okay. There are 3 golf courses the city owns. It is managed and operated by the TSA. I just threw a blank there. They do a very good job. I mean, we've come a long way since the recession. I remember, I mean, you think we were doing a lot of FinReses now. You should see we were doing it monthly. Matter of fact, they were complaining that it was raining one August. I'm going, because nobody's playing golf.
Right.
So, Roy, I love you. We need water, but we need people on the golf courses too. 3 golf courses, 2 capital projects in 2027, one at Rocky Point, and Mr. Clendenin, I think that's sort of like, you know what they're doing out there?
Yeah, there's several different renovations that are happening, and it all aims at a business model. You've got what is it called? Kind of like Topgolf.
The virtual.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. And it's all anticipated to generate additional revenue. So
Sure, especially when it rains.
Right.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, all the some of it's rehabilitation, some of it's of some of the holes, and of course they just finished the communities, whatever the center's called. What is it called?
The golf
Clubhouse.
course.
Yeah.
Clubhouse.
So and again, all these things they're anticipating. I know I haven't gotten the budget presentation for FY27 from TSA yet, but everything that is anticipated in these capital improvement projects will be revenue generators.
I mean, and I don't have a problem with it. Obviously, they're paying for it themselves. I was just curious because
Yeah.
to go from 8 million to 12 million is a significant increase for that alone. So when you do get that budget presentation, would you have your aide share it with all of us? Because I and Ms. Kopesky, because I would really love to see it. And well, and our fearless budget staff,
Well,
financial staff.
we do have their budget. I mean, obviously, we had to get it. And one of the things we talked with the TSAs to, at least on the golf courses, to give us at a minimum a 5-year CIP. They've gone out to about 7 or 8.
Okay.
Because with that, the other project is on Rogers Golf Course. And I do believe they're going to resod the golf course out there. That's between $600,000 to $700,000.
And that's a
resodding the golf
requirement
course.
periodically for that.
And the way, it used to be that the city was subsidizing operations and capital. It used to be maybe anywhere between $900,000 to $1.2 million. This year, we're only providing $300,000. Golf course fees are actually contributing and managing the operation in these capital projects for the golf systems. So they've done a wonderful job out there.
Okay, so yeah, like I said, I mean, it's not talked about very often, but it is our 5th capital, or our 5th enterprise fund. So we really do need to just give it a little bit of its due. So I appreciate that update, and I really do look forward to that budget presentation.
I'll
because
get it
that
to you.
it is. I mean, when you go up of your budget by a third, that's worth a conversation.
Well, and again, I want to give kudos to Eric and our golf course administrators and the folks that run that. They do a really good job. I mean, they to be able to operate these things and be able to keep them at the level of service, the service level that they're keeping it at. I mean, it's a great amenity for the city of Tampa, especially in Rocky Point because of its location. It's tremendous, and of course Rogers, it is it's a historic golf course with a lot of community background and information. So it's, and of course, Babe Zahara,
Yeah.
your birthplace.
Yep.
I mean, again, I'll swing and defend the
Oh,
Tampa Sports Authority on, and as soon as I get all the information, and I'll bring it to you. And in fact, I'll make sure I get a thorough briefing and make sure and get all the information to you guys.
I just think it's one of those things that, again, just.
It's a great benefit, and again, it's
Yeah.
done as an
Golf
enterprise.
is coming back, so the fact that people can play for an affordable price is matters.
Affordable price. So it's a community golf course that people can afford at an affordable price, and with a great product. You know, you look around the state or country and you see some of these municipal courses that are not in great shape. They keep these things at pristine shape, and it's a really good product for a really good price, and it's a really good benefit for those of you that play golf and haven't had an opportunity to look at the City of Tampa owned golf courses. It's a great amenity for our residents here. Anything else on golf courses? No. Okay.
Were you really born on a golf course?
Golf course adjacent.
Yeah, I lived in, when I was born, my parents lived in Forest Hills, like directly on Cutting in Place, just 3 houses down, I think, from the course.
She held you up at the golf course and said she's.
My father wishes. He wishes I had become a golfer, but it just wasn't for me.
Yeah.
I mean, I can play though.
Okay, very good. If I'm hearing nothing else, it is 11:19. We're going to move on to public comment. I see there's nobody here for public comment. We'll be done. I'm funny. Isn't that right, Stephanie? I'm funny.
Looking. Good
Start with
morning.
your name.
Stephanie Pointer. I'd like to know when the PDFs will be available. I've been on the budget committee since 2021, and every single year, it takes at least a week to get the hard copy, PDF copy, whatever copy you want to call it, in order to look at the documents, because it's like window shopping. You want to window shop on the paper or PDF version, and then you dig in OpenGov. And I spent 45 minutes this morning looking for the staff, the numbers with the payroll next to it. I couldn't find it, and I gave up. Parking. Somebody mentioned that Thea's not going to have as much parking or any parking under the Selman. I'm kind of concerned. Are they making sure that they have adequate parking for the facilities that they're wanting to build? Creating a parking benefit district in order to fund the streetcar would be a great idea. Somebody should look into that. I also was interested in, Mr. Revolt said something about the compliance officers getting more vehicles in order to do their jobs more quickly. Are they using micro-mobility downtown? I've never seen them on any. Solid waste. I think Larry does a fabulous job. His department does a fabulous job. I was talking to him about that before you guys came in today. Water and wastewater, I am always, always, always impressed. I really was very impressed with Rory, Mr. Jones, right? Talking about how they are evaluating what they need to replace and putting a list together. And the fact that they are so on solid ground, I'm sure that Mr. Washington is jealous that one day he'll be on solid ground and be able to make those kind of evaluations and forecasting. Methane for money, I love it. You know I love it when we make money. And above and beyond everything, I want you guys to remember that Hager works all by herself. She works all by herself to do her job, and she is amazing at it. I have never asked her for anything. She didn't give it to me. And I see her constantly learning. She came in, she wasn't from the government side of accounting, and she's done an amazing job, and she continues to do so for you guys. And I'll have more to say about the budget when I see a copy of it that I can actually get to. I've been on the budget committee since 2021. Every single year, this council has asked for a hard copy or a PDF copy. Started with Councilman Dingfelder, and I really struggle to understand why that can't come forward with this, with the mayor's budget presentation. When the mayor comes in here and she presents it, you guys should be able to have a hand copy right then and there, Johnny on the spot. Because if they have it prepared for everything else, it should be prepared for you guys to have and to hold forever and ever. Amen. Thank you.
Thank you. Jamie?
James Adair. Kudos to Mr. Washington. I talked to a lot of people, a lot of past employees, and everybody loves his department. Like, never once heard a bad thing, so that says a lot. Yeah, I really was trying to figure out if I wanted to come to this meeting today. I'm like, this is enterprise, I'm gonna come and learn some stuff, and I did. But I can't imagine coming to a budget meeting and not having a budget. I don't get it. Yeah. So, thank you, Chairman, for saying that will be printed next time, because I planned on the next Mondays being here. I don't want to waste my time, guys. I mean, you know how many salaries we have in this room? This is the top tier of the city, and we can't have a piece of paper? So, I'll just leave it at that. Thank you.
Anybody else? Well, let me say something. For one, because I can't talk to you guys outside of this. And I don't mean to be really that hard on staff, but it befuddles me that we're coming to council for a budget meeting to run a $2 billion operation and not have this when it's so clearly been communicated. Also on Ms. Kopesky, Ms. Kopesky works for the Tampa City Council, and she shouldn't have to do the presentations. She should be here working for us and answering us questions about the presentation that staff presents, asking for money to run the city. Again, because she's our resource. You guys have an entire administration of hundreds of people for your resource. She's one person for the 7 of us. So I mean, I think it's a disservice to her and her time to have to go through that. And I really do. By the way, I really appreciate what she has brought to council since she has been with us, and I think it's been a great move having that position filled. But again, for those of you guys that are listening that are going to come next Monday and the Monday after that, I implore you to come with presentations. This is your opportunity to come. You guys don't want us coming. You don't want us crafting your budget. You don't want us to, you got to justify the budget to the 7 people that are sitting up here, and we really need the information. We need you guys to come to bat. And I think for Mr. Washington and Rory and everybody else that came today, you did a good job for what you had with the expectations of having. And I think maybe it was good that we started with you all, because we see you guys so much. We're very much more familiar with your operations and what you've been doing, so that we have less questions, because hey, you're before us with your hand out all the time. So we're constantly in your budget. So I wouldn't say we're subject matter experts, but we're this close to being somewhat knowledgeable about all 3 of your departments. But for some of the other folks that are coming and pitching for this, I really want you guys to be here, be prepared, have presentations, and pitch for yourselves. And again, like I told Brandon, we were walking in the building for paving. I'm expecting a paving budget, and if the paving budget's there, I'm going to be looking at other departments to find money for the paving budget. Councilman Carlson.
Yeah, I agree with that too. I really appreciate Ms. Kopesky presenting. I thought it was a great format, and I know it's a lot of work for her, but it was a great format that she set it up, and then the staff responded. I thought that was one of the best formats that I've seen since I've been here. I also appreciate that we didn't do the video. The public can look up what's happened in the past. This is about the last year of this council looking forward, and the last year of this council and this mayor looking forward as to what we're going to do during the last year. Thank you.
The only thing I reference Ms. Kopesky is that she can't be she's one person, and this budget is so big. I mean, what she can do, I think her being our counsel on these things is good, but her doing the pitch for the city, I think, is just a little out of whack for her role. Councilwoman Hurtak.
I don't really see this as a pitch. I mean, I understand what you're trying to say, but for the enterprise funds too, I mean, they aren't coming to us asking for money. They make their own.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's why I'm glad we started with this.
Yeah,
this was a good way to start.
I agree, because we worked really hard as a city to make sure that we don't have to fund them from the fund balance or from the general fund. And you all, I mean, have done just a tremendous amount of work, and everything is so appreciated. I mean, you're just really, really good. Your departments are, I mean, you come to us with ideas for things that are really fleshed out and really creative, and the money you're borrowing is always, I mean, we're asking questions, but you're coming to us all the time for these big projects. So you're right, we do know more about them, which is another reason I wanted to talk about the golf courses, because we just don't hear from them that often, and that is ideally a revenue generator. So I do agree. I do think, I really am hoping that we'll see, especially stormwater and mobility next week. I don't know about you all, but I got some photos. We all got some photos this weekend of the stormwater challenges that people are still facing in South Tampa, and it's an issue. So I really do hope that next week we come forward with some really just, you know, very clear cut, like we've had today, about what you're doing, how you're doing it, what your capital program looks like. And I just want to thank you all again. This was really enlightening, as always. And but the thing is, when there are places that have challenges, but we knew about these challenges coming forward. We were able to ask Mr. Washington about more specifics, but we knew there were challenges, and because we've been updated. And I think maybe just if more departments did that, we wouldn't feel so out of the loop. So I just want to thank you all for the work you do and for the communication you have with us as council members toward this. So I'll be honest, I wasn't surprised by anything today, and I want to, and that's a good thing. So I just want to say thank you for that. Like, we have some ups and downs, but I wasn't surprised. So we were actually able to talk about things that would reduce and increase costs appropriately, instead of being worried that we hadn't heard what was coming in front of us. And I think that's a good thing. So thank you so much.
My only surprise was not having the printed documents.
Oh,
So,
sure,
Mr. Perry,
sure.
when can we anticipate, Mr. Perry, when can we anticipate getting printed documents?
Probably tomorrow.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Excellent.
Okay, I had,
Probably.
okay, probably. I got the probably part. I had a motion to receive and file from Councilman Maniscalco, second from Councilman Carlson. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. See you Thursday.